Yo, what's good? It's your boy Dot from Dot Me Now Coaching Get Entertainment. For coaching, my links are down below. I have a Patreon down below. It gets saucy over there. If you're not inside there, you is missing out. I'm not gonna lie. I'ma just keep it real. I have an astral projection course down below. Whether you want to leave your body or lucid dream, nigga, I teach how to do all that shit, you know what I'm saying? To the point where you literally condition your body to just naturally do it. You just have to switch your mind to that state and just activate it and you just do it. It's so much sauce inside there. Go check that out. My social media is down below. Everything's down below. Email to ask me questions and shit. I have everything down below, but let's get into this video, right? So, we're going to talk about ego and ego death, right? We're going to talk about what the ego is based off definition and etymology. We're going to talk about what the ego is that people refer to nowadays. We're going to talk about the drawbacks of ego, the benefits of ego, what is the ego death as portrayed, what an ego death truly is, how ego death can actually lead to more ego, and how to experience a true ego death. You know what I'm saying? We have a lot to talk about and stuff. So y'all know with me, I get real specific. You know, I'm gonna make sure that we really understand ego and ego death as much as we possibly can. So let's get right into it. Drop a like because I'm giving out mad value. And if you want to get support inside your life, you could set up that good karma by supporting me by dropping a like on this video, comment some fire emojis if you think the video was fire and shit. Subscribe if you're new. I'm going to get into this video, but don't, hey, I'm going to bring up liking the video again. So you better just do it now. But anyway, what is the ego, right? So let's go based off the definition and the etymology of fucking ego, because this is what niggas don't be understanding, right? Right here, it literally says that it means I, right? Ego literally just means I. Now understand this because the ego that's talked about nowadays is kind of different from that, but I gotta explain what this whole entire ego I shit is, right? The ego originally just meant I, and it simply just referred to your sense of self and your individuality. And this actually ties in with the soul and personality because a lot of people back in the past would associate the soul with the ego. And here's the reason why: your soul is an individualized focal point of awareness, which is able to become aware of itself, aka conscious. So, with that being said, right, when your soul becomes conscious, it's like, oh shit, I am this. So when it says I, it's like, holy shit, it's awakening to itself and it starts to see itself as a self because your sense of self is your sense of individuality, your sense of, like, when you say that I have a self, that means that there's a self and then there's like a outside thing, because technically we're all just source, but because we split off from source, we have a sense of individuality. Now when the soul says I and I am and I am this, it's becoming aware of its individuality, and then it starts to form a personality and a character. You see what I'm saying? It would be like, oh nigga, I am Sally. Now you become the character Sally, but you can only become Sally by first perceiving yourself as an individual. So your sense of self and the character is not the same exact thing. You know what I'm saying? Your sense of self is what builds the character. First, you have to even see yourself as separate and as an individual. Then, once you do that, you can build a character that's based around your sense of individuality. So, ego, off its truest sense, really just means your sense of self, which isn't a bad thing, right? However, people refer to ego nowadays in a certain undesirable sense. It's for a really good reason. Ego nowadays is attachment to your sense of self and your character. You see, the attachment to your sense of self is what causes problems. I'm gonna talk about the drawbacks of ego in a little bit, but having a sense of self, right, is not bad. Because a sense of self just means that you are literally sensing yourself as an individual, which isn't bad. It's only bad when you literally believe that you only are the self and the character, because you truly are source, God the Most High. Like, if you were to go to a psychologist and they say, who are you? And you say, I am God, or I am source, or I am spirit, they gonna look at you like you crazy. Like, this nigga thinks that he's God, he's crazy. But actually, Other people are crazy because other people literally believe that they're only this character and that they're actually an individual. Like, because even your soul, right? You're not just your soul, because your soul is an individualized focal point of awareness, which actually comes from your spirit, because your spirit is an infinite eternal energy that could split itself off into smaller energies, and those energies become focal points of awarenesses, aka souls. You know what I'm saying? So your soul is connected to your spirit is connected to your oversoul is linked to your omnisoul is linked to source, God the most high. I explained this on my page. Hold the fuck up. I gotta show y'all. I told you my Patreon saucy. Hold up. If you go to my Patreon, right, I have this post highlighted because these videos break down the structure of reality. And inside this PowerPoint right here, because I have a collection section on my Patreon called PowerPoints. If you go there and you watch this PowerPoint right here, I break down the 12 planes as well as how you exist on every single plane with your physical body, your emotional body, your astral body, your mental body, your soul, your architectural spirit, your eternal spirit, your oversoul, you know what I'm saying? Your divine Akashic template, you know, your omnisoul, your infinity awareness, and your absolute consciousness and becoming source and God. I break this shit down very fucking well. You know what I'm saying? I'm quite saucy. You know what I'm saying? But I'm only saucy because God made me saucy. You know what I'm saying? It's just God flowing through it, nigga. And I'm gonna talk about that inside here, about why I'm saying it like that. Because the drawbacks of ego, right, is that number one, you're literally crazy, right? Now, I don't mean the drawbacks of having a sense of self. Having a sense of self isn't bad unless you get attached to it, because at that point you become crazy. You literally think that you're only an individual, but you're not just this individual soul, nigga. At the highest level, you're literally fucking God, and you actually are kind of crazy when you don't realize that. You know what I'm saying? Number two, you're gonna take everything personally. Now, it's actually not bad to take certain shit personal, because certain shit is personal. For example, if someone's trying to unalive you, nigga, that's actually very personal. They're literally trying to unalive you. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, there may be reasons that they're trying to do it which isn't as personal. For example, you could have triggered that person, but they only got triggered because you brought up some wounds that they had from their childhood. Now, that part, right, the reasoning is not personal, but the actual action of trying to murk you, that's personal. I made a video on Patreon. I have a collection section called motherfucking ET Enlightenment, right? By the way, like the video if you didn't like the video, my nigga. Especially if you think this video is pretty fire right now, you ain't like the video, bro. Real talk, I'm not playing no games, bro. But I have a collection section that's called ET Enlightenment, right? I'm gonna show y'all real quick. This shit got ET Enlightenment got 34 videos, right? Inside of one of the videos, I do a Lyran ET Enlightenment that talks about taking shit personal and when to actually do it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I talk about that, right? I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere around here. You know what I'm saying? But I hold the fuck. I want to find it. Hold up. Nigga, this video right here, learning when and how to take things personally, because there is certain times where you may take things personally. You know what I'm saying? So that's an ET Enlightenment right there. You know what I'm saying? There's over 30 ET Enlightenments on Patreon. So if you want some ET wisdom, go to the Patreon, my nigga. We have over 30 videos about the ET wisdom, right? But anyway, right? But when you take everything personal, it's like, goddamn, nigga, because your ego's your character, right? When people, like, if someone says, yo, bro, you a bitch, right? If you're attached to your character, it's like, I'm not a fucking bitch, you're a bitch. Because it's like, let's say that you have a character that is built around not being a bitch. If somebody calls you a bitch and you're attached to your character, it literally feels like your ego is dying, in the sense of your character is dying. It's like they're attacking you. Because if you say, I'm not a bitch, and that's your character you attached to, and then they call you a bitch, it's like they're saying, you're not this character that's not a bitch. You're the character that is a bitch. And then that character feels attacked as if someone's trying to kill it, because by someone calling you a bitch, they're pretty much saying that you're not the character that's not a bitch. Therefore, that character is not real. And it's like they're trying to kill that character. So then you get defensive, then you attack them back. That's the psychology of that shit. That's why some niggas can't take insults, because if a person inside their head does not want to identify with being like weak, for example, if someone says, yo, bro, you're weak, if you are so attached to the character that isn't weak, it's like they're attacking you, trying to say that your character is not actually real. The Mr. Not Weak guy, he's not real because you're actually weak. Now you got to defend yourself. Oh fucking D. When you're able to detach from your character, it don't really matter what niggas say because nigga, you're a source. You know what I'm saying? You're just chilling. So you take everything personal, right? Then also, you can't see the higher perspective of life. So like your character is going to want to do certain shit, right? As an individual, you may want to do certain shit that on a higher level your spirit and source does not really agree with. And when certain shit's not working out, you cannot see why it's not working out because you only have the perspective of this character who's trying to do certain shit, and you cannot see what life and God is trying to show you whatsoever. You see what I'm saying? And then you also develop a sense of pride and you take credit for doing certain shit which you didn't do alone. Here's what I mean. Let's say that you get a new job, right? Now, you getting a new job is happening because of you and also because of source. You know what I'm saying? Like, if source and your spirit didn't want you to get a new job, you would not have gotten a new job. You know what I'm saying? But it's like the unified aspect of you taking the actions, then your spirit also letting it happen. You know what I'm saying? Because there is a certain design to life that you can't always comprehend. And it's not like it's just you doing shit. Like you can't always see the different spiritual forces. Like you have certain spirit guides and you have your spirit acting out, you have source acting out. Like there's so many factors as to why shit happens inside of life. When you only identify with the character, it's like the character does everything. Like for example, let's say you play GTA 5, right? And you do a mission with Franklin, right? Now, if you beat the mission, right, Franklin could be like, oh, yeah, nigga, I did that. But technically, nigga, you did that because you're controlling Franklin. You know what I'm saying? You did that shit, not actually Franklin. So if Franklin says, yeah, I did that shit, he's kind of a little bit crazy and being overly prideful because really, nigga, you did this shit because you're controlling Franklin. You know what I'm saying? Franklin was just a vessel. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And if Franklin said, and also with you being crazy, if you believed that you were literally Franklin, you would be crazy. That's what it's like when niggas. That's what it's like when niggas think that they're actually the character. Like if your name is Sally, and you think that you're actually Sally, you're actually kind of crazy. Not gonna lie. But here's the benefits of ego. And here's what I mean with true ego, right? Because the drawbacks come from the attachment to your sense of self. But here's the benefits of having a sense of self, right? Having a sense of self allows you to experience yourself as separate from life, which is what source wants in the first place, right? Like it's like when you have a dream, right? Well, most people's dreams, because like people think that dreams only happen inside your mind. Most of the time, when you dream, you're only inside your mind for a small period of time because usually you either end up inside the etheric plane because your emotions kind of take you there with inside your own mind, or you end up inside of a reality from your spirit guides because your spirit guides came inside your mind and led you to do certain shit you didn't even realize, or a certain being could have took over your dream, which usually ends up inside the etheric plane if it's like a lower vibrational being. My whole entire point is when you do dream inside of your mind, you know what I'm saying? Every single character is literally a split aspect of you. It's like your dream would be kind of boring if you couldn't split yourself off into other characters. You see what I'm saying? But because you can, it becomes more interesting, right? It only becomes bad when you think that you actually are the character. But when you can experience yourself as separate from life while still knowing that you're one with everything, it becomes kind of lit because you can literally experience yourself and it becomes really fucking fun. On top of that, you can literally experience many different aspects of life individually rather than all at once because if you become one with everything, you experience life as one giant thing. When you become separate from, you can literally experience the separate facets of life and separate facets of yourself, and actually have a little bit of fun. It's like when you play a video game. The video game is actually fun. It only becomes weird when you think you're actually the character, that you put all your time into the game and you forget who the fuck you actually are, and you fucking start doing fucks. You get my whole entire point, right? Now we gotta talk about ego death because ego death, right? So when ego death was originally talked about by like actual like real spiritual people, ego death was literally ego then death. It was a loss of your sense of self. Having an ego death would be when you died to your own sense of self. So going through a true ego death, right? You would literally have no more sense of self, and you would literally experience yourself as one with everything, right? Nowadays, ego death kind of gets talked about as like the death of your character, which your character actually can die, but usually when your character dies, you end up just building a new character, which is why some people say that ego death isn't actually a thing. Like my boy King Cash, that nigga be getting passionate about that shit, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm gonna explain the deeper depths of ego death and how it is possible, how it isn't possible, because there is a lot of nuance around it. You know what I'm saying? That he may not, because he talks about some nuance with it, but like I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth. No shade to him. I'm just like I'm an Arcturian. You know what I'm saying? He's a Lyran. I mean, we're more than just those things, but it's like he's just giving like the basis, like nigga, that shit not real. Nigga, stop saying that shit. You know what I'm saying? Me, I'm gonna tell you why the deeper aspects of it real quick, right? So when it comes to the death of your character, right? For example, on my YouTube, I used to be called Asar John. Nigga, now I'm Genie Dot. These are two different characters. Asar John died. There's no more Asar John. But a new character formed, which is Genie Dot. So you can have a character that dies. It's just that most of the time you just build a new character. So it's like, did the ego really die in the sense of your character? It's like yes and no. Like overall, you still have some kind of character, it's just a new character. So when niggas say that you can't have like a real ego death, it just means that you can't technically kill the character. You could only see beyond the character and then alter your character. You know what I'm saying? Now, some motherfuckers do literally get rid of their character altogether. Like, they can still act inside the world as a character, but they don't actually see themselves as a character, which is another reason why they say you can't kill your ego, because while acting inside the world, you kind of act as a character, but you still could see yourself as not being a character. You know what I'm saying? While even though you act as a character, like even though I could go to school and then act like Genie, you know what I'm saying? I may not think that I'm actually Genie. You know what I'm saying? I may think that I'm just Source, just playing the role of Genie. You know what I'm saying? But even then, the role is still kind of there, which is why they say you can't kill the ego. Now, here's what ego death kind of truly is, right? Now, in its truest sense, it's the first thing of the loss of the sense of self. However, you could also see it as a loss of attachment to your sense of self and your character. Now, both of these are possible, right? When it comes to having a loss of your sense of self completely, this is what like fucking monks and shit go through. This is why at some point motherfuckers stop identifying as their character and they just talk to you, and it like for when monks start saying one does this, one does that, they usually had a true ego death. When they say that one is doing something, it's because they don't say that I am doing this. They say that one does this. One in regards to like, cause like source God is just one. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one who is doing something. You know what I'm saying? And they always just call everybody one does this, one does that. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not attached to their sense of self as an individual. You see what I'm saying? So you could actually lose your sense of self. Now, at this point, this is when you literally see yourself as God 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Right? Now, most niggas don't have this shit. What most niggas can have, though, is a loss of attachment to their sense of self and character. Now, inside this sense, right? Literally, when you experience this, you'll still have a sense of self and a character. You just are not attached to this sense of self and character. So, like with me, I still experience my own sense of self. Now, I do have certain states when I completely disregard my sense of self. That would be called like rising above my ego. You know what I'm saying? My sense, like I could like with me, I like to experience every single plane because that's what humans could do. Humans literally are composed of all the 12 planes. And as a human, you clearly perceive the perspective of every single plane. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, right? as a human, I can experience myself as a character, as my spirit, as my oversoul, all the way up to literally being God. You know what I'm saying? I like to pick and choose depending on the situation, right? So I'm not attached to my sense of self or my character, but I still do experience my sense of self and my character. Now, there dead ass are some people who completely lose their sense of self and they no longer have a character. And they just be like some other like now this is actually hard to do. Like people like this, they just be chilling sometimes, just experiencing themselves as everything and nothing. Sad Guru, right, talks about now nowadays Sad Guru still has to act with his character, but he mentioned like how he had an enlightening experience, and he wasn't like he was just sitting there like he couldn't really like do shit. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't move like that. Like he was just like sitting there laying down, I'm pretty sure. He was either sitting there or just lying there for a long period of time, not able to do shit. They actually mention how with certain like monks, right? There's certain monks and certain people who have to literally be carried around because they have no more sense of self. They can't experience themselves as an individual. They just became one with everything and everyone, and now they can't even move. They're just inside this ecstatic, frozen state of everything and all of like this oddness of being everything and nothing and being one with everything, and it's just crazy as fuck. So you can actually lose your sense of self. It's just extremely rare. You know what I'm saying? What you can do though, that's actually real, is losing the attachment to your sense of self and character, meaning that you still have a sense of self and a character, but you're not attached to it. This is what I have because I actually have had this ego death. I've had the ego death of losing my sense of self, but then I just regained it after. You know what I'm saying? But because I lost my sense of self, I also broke the attachment. So when I actually regained my sense of self, I knew that like I could experience myself as an individual, but I was no longer attached to that experience of myself as an individual. So I can experience that. I'm just not attached to it no more. And that is actually very, 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 very real. So ego death inside of that sense actually is real and actually is possible, right? But here's how an ego death could actually lead to more ego. So when you start to experience the ego death in the sense of you start to experience a loss of your sense of self and or the attachment to your sense of self. If you're not ready for that, it can actually make people hold on even more and attach even more, which would strengthen their ego. It would actually strengthen their sense of self and their attachment to it. Cause some niggas, if they lose their sense of self, it feels like they're fucking dying because you're literally becoming one with everything. Like if your name is Sally and you're losing your sense of self and you're losing who Sally is, you're dissolving into everything and nothing, it's like it could be scary and therefore like, no nigga, I am Sally. And then you attach more to your ego. This actually happened to me off shrooms a lot, you know what I'm saying? Where like I feel myself kind of detaching from the character and I start to feel like weird. And like you could just say I feel bad for lack of a better term, right? I'll just feel bad, and then it's like no, bitch, I am this. Like I remember like even with past life shit, right? I could be like inside a certain energy, then I get on the shrooms and like I start to expand beyond that shit, and I start to like feel bad. Then it's like a certain verse, like my Anunnaki self may come like, no, nigga, I am this, ha 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 ha, and it'll just come through even heavier, making me get more inside of that part of myself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, because you could actually have like a loss of your sense of self, like you could actually have an ego death where like you lose your sense of self, and then you also lose the attachment to it, but then your sense of self could come back and you get reattached to it. That is possible. Like even inside of fucking if you watch my Sunday scriptures video, right? Inside of the like this is the one on YouTube, the first episode, right? Inside that episode, I mentioned a bar from Christ or a verse from Christ where Christ talks about how is he pretty much says that it's easier to lose your enlightenment than it is to even become enlightened. So the process of being enlightened, right, is actually harder than losing enlightenment once you get it. So it's literally easier to lose enlightenment than it is to gain it. So once you achieve the goal of becoming enlightened and lose your sense of self, you could lose it just like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. But yeah, so people who are not ready to lose their sense of self, they get actually more attached to their sense of self. This happens a lot where niggas be like, yo, I'm going through an ego death, but they don't fully die, and they actually get more in tune with their character. They get more attached to their character. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's how to experience the actual ego death, right? To experience the ego death in regards to a loss of sense of self or attachment to your sense of self, simply just let go of your character and let go of your sense of self by realizing and accepting that the self is just an illusion and that truly you are one with everything, right? So you can just meditate and contemplate that and then trigger your own ego death. Or if you like take psychedelics or simply just have a moment inside your life when you're having an ego death, try to just remember that yourself's an illusion. You truly are one with everything. There actually is no self whatsoever. You gotta just let that go and accept that shit. You and then from that point you'll either experience a loss of your sense of self completely, or you'll simply experience the loss of the attachment to your sense of self. And you'll still have a sense of self, but you're no longer attached to it. You no longer identify with yourself as simply just an individual because you are literally one with everything and everyone. So with that being said, like the video if this provides you with some value, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna end the video right there. And yeah, I love you all. I'm gonna catch you in my next video. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new. Fuck with the Patreon. Fuck with my social medias. Fuck with the course that's down below. Fuck with me and fuck with all my shit. I would really appreciate it. So yeah, I love you all. It's been an amazing video. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, evening, whatever you're seeing this shit. And yeah, I love you. I'm gonna catch you in my next video. And peace out.